Named items for the PTS. Last video, yes. First off, I couldn't think of a witty anime character to put in the thumbnail, so I'm just going to put tits everywhere because I fucking can. Right, named items in the PTS. We have an AR, an LMG, we have a backpack, and we have knees. If you want the cliff notes just to get out of here, because I certainly do, AR, Goalie, I believe it's called, is okay. The LMG, Rusty, named RPK, is bad. Named knees are peculiar. I don't know why they've done it that way. It fits maybe 2 builds that can actually make use of it. And the named backpack is, for the vast majority of you, it's terrible. Unless, of course, you're some top tier elite speedrunner, in which case it's probably very good. Well, okay to very good. So, first things first, Goalie. This is the named FAL. I don't know why it really bothers me. People call it the FAL. FAL, please. Comes with the talent Perfect Pressure Point. Amplifies weapon damage by 15% to enemies under a status effect. Now, annoyingly, I was wrong on this. I thought it would be really funny. And most likely, if this talent bugged out and it was 15% per status effect, it actually wasn't. I was very, very sad. Because, yeah. Which now annoyingly leads to the next problem of its direct competitor is just going to be normal flatline, which, as we should all know at this point, normal flatline is losing to things like Killer. I think even Measured is beating it. It's a sad day when a talent that gives an amplifier is losing to Measured. The FAO itself is actually a pretty good weapon. I believe it's one of the top tier weapons at the moment. The problem is the FAL Para variant is going to be the one you would want to go for, and even then just putting Killer on it is going to perform better than this. Not because statuses aren't like a dime a dozen at the moment. You'll have more than enough uptime on this to actually get use out of it. It's just a simple fact of you'll have a greater uptime with something like Killer that doesn't have the condition of something like a status being a thing. So it's not so much that the FAL is bad. FAL is a very good weapon. It's more just you would need this talent for the perfect variant to at least be 20%, and then the normal variant to be like 15%, to even consider using this talent in its current state. It's just too weak. There are too many things that it has to compete with that just outright outperform it. This is very much the same argument for Rusty, the named LMG. Basically, it's in the exact same boat, except this time, now it's on a bad weapon, because the RPK, oh, how the mighty have fallen. Can someone explain to me how an RPK, which is magazine fed, has a 4-second reload speed, but something like Iron Lung, Pestilence, etc., have like a 2.3-second reload speed? Can someone explain to me how that actually happens? Like, what the hell? Along with the fact that they've actually decreased the overall magazine size of the RPK, which is one of the main reasons it was emphasis on was one of the, if not the top LMG in the game. Now it's barely holding its ground within like the middle of the pack. I actually think it's closer to the bottom of the pack now. So yeah, the talent itself just isn't really worth it at this point until they buff it. It could see some use in things like speedruns if you've got like a player being like a dedicated foamer. The only reason you would do that is because you're guaranteed a damage increase, whereas something like Killer, which would be more, isn't a guaranteed damage increase. But once you have Killer active, it's remarkably easy to keep it active, and it is worth so much more. But then again, if you are going to go down that route of having like a dedicated foamer, why not just take Regulus and just, you know, wipe out entire spawns in like 1 or 2 bullets? Seems weird, right? Up next, Axel, the named backpack. Now, this item is actually probably the best named item they've added. It is both really, really good and also really, really bad. You see, Perfect Energize is a 50% decrease in its timer. Energize normally is 60 seconds. Perfect is 30 seconds. Like, this is a huge, huge decrease. However, it's going to be very, very difficult for the vast majority of players, myself included, to actively get full use out of this item. You see, this is one of those items that only really sees top tier actual use when it is put in the hands of a speedrunner. And it's normally some of those crazy speedrunners. We're talking Toasty, Broken, Astro, Luna, the sort of people that do like two-man Iron Horse, and during certain points of their speedrun, in their two-man speedrun, they need to get a god-awful amount of overcharges for whatever damn reason in about 3 minutes. Energize is just another mechanic to get an overcharge. So they'll sit there and hop swap between like BTSU gloves, a backpack with Energize, Acosta's Go bag, perhaps even using a weapon with Future Perfect on. There's a variety of mechanics on how they can get that. But that's really the only sort of area of where this will actually have any form of benefit. I very much doubt outside of that anyone's going to make any remote use of this backpack. I'm sure there's going to be some crazy person somewhere that finds some weird and wacky use for it, but the vast majority of players are not going to touch this simply just because there are more useful talents for them to actively have. But there will be the occasional crazy speedrunner that is looking at Perfect Energizing going, ooh, that weird strat we had, maybe it will work now. But that's about it. Last on this list is Grease, the named knees. They come with 16% status effect, and at one piece you'll also be getting 15% skill duration, and then last roll will probably be skill haste because that's about the only thing you could really put there, minus skill damage for a certain build. Now the issue here is what really utilizes status effect that requires a duration. You see, a lot of people right now are probably thinking, oh, like it will just increase like the burn time. No, it doesn't. Duration doesn't affect like how long things burn for. That's just status effect. Now, if you throw like the chem launcher out, that little cloud that sits there before you detonate it, that's affected by duration. When you throw a sticky on something before you detonate it, how long it sits there, that's affected by duration. Your turret, when you throw your turret out, how long it will sit there before it runs out of ammo or dies or whatever the hell happens to. I've never actually sat there and had a turret sit there for God knows how long. That's affected by duration, not the actual burn time. The status effect itself is not affected by duration, which is kind of a problem with this set. So realistically, the only place that I can really think to put this is my original argument would be on something like a CC build within like this, again, the speedrunning community. I was a CC player within the speedrunning community, and quite a lot of the time we would EMP sticky a Wally or Johnny 5, whatever people want to call them, the controllers, the weird turret on wheels, but we wouldn't detonate it. And this is because when you detonate it, it generates aggro. So we would literally just sticky them and leave it. Having duration on that is a worthwhile tool. We're also getting status effect for the foam, and then we can put like skill haste in to keep the cooldowns up and running. This was like my only idea, and then after talking to IKEA, he did mention Exoro. This would also benefit Exoro with that turret going friggin' nuts and thinking it's in a mosh pit and doing 360s. You're getting the duration for the turret, you're getting status effect for the flame, it's a flame turret, and then you can also put skill damage on there to get more damage out of the actual fire ticks as well. This is also a worthwhile way to go. My one concern with this though is who on earth is using fucking Exoro? Like, hello? Realistically, that is quite simply it though. Everything else that we would utilize this piece for, you can either get away with Hany-Yu, Golan, Eclipse, that will just have such better rolls and can fit your build more easily. To put it simply, throughout this entire PTS, these are probably the most dead piece, which is really, really a shame. I was looking forward to these, but then after like looking into it and doing the math and figuring out where you could actually, there's basically nowhere you could put this. The most likely place would be something along the lines of an Eclipse build, like I said, Exoro if you're crazy, but that's really about it. That's literally it. So yeah, not the greatest selection of named items this time around, but we can't have it perfect all the time. I think that's pretty much Massive's motto at this point. In the meantime though, have fun, good luck, don't die. It's bad for the health.